For today's project, you'll need the following items: a piece of PVC pipe with a large enough diameter to hold your containers, a coupling that will fit that size pipe to glue the two halves together. You'll need the cleaner and the cement, preferably clear unless you plan on painting it, and you'll also need an end cap, and that's to hold the ends on either side to keep the containers from rolling out. Now before we get started, I have to remind everyone, because we're using power tools, to go ahead and use safety glasses and hearing protection. Don't use gloves because of the fact that we are using a saw. Gloves will get grabbed. Now the end cap that I bought has a nice little tab sticking up, and I used that tab as a marker to go straight across and get my opposite side mark. And I used that mark as well to mark the pipe. I just used a screwdriver and give it a little tack on each side, and that will give me a nice straight edge to work on when I cut the pipe. Now the way I have it set up here now is I took the fence, measured it out to where it'll be a nice middle of the pipe cut, and I took a piece of oak and pinned it down to the deck here so it doesn't have any chance of rolling off or sliding around too much. And once I make the cut, I should be able to just go right down the length of it, and it'll give me a nice straight edge cut from end to end of that pipe. Now be extra careful, because you don't have any guards on this saw right here. If it grabs you, you're going to know it. Next thing you'll need to do is make an adjustment, because the sleeve is going to be a little larger than the pipe. So once you make that adjustment out, then you'll want to cut this, but only cut it about halfway. If you go all the way through, what'll happen is the pipe will try to collapse and it'll grab that saw blade. And so what I'm going to do is I found something that I'm going to shove inside the pipe. Once I get it halfway cut, I'll flip it over, put it in there, and cut it, get it to the other side. Now what I'm going to do is take the end of the piece of pipe that I cut, line this up like there to get the alignment correct. Once I get the alignment correct, I'll make a little notch inside and I'll know where to cut. Now I've got the alignment mark, I won't have to worry about it collapsing because this is already split. So what we're going to do is I'll make the cut there, and that should be the end of the cutting process. The other cut that I made was I cut the end cap in half using a chop saw, and I just took a disc sander and sanded it down to fit the end caps better. Now that the cuts are made, you can see here there's some rough edges on here. There's going to be, and what you want to do is take some emery cloth and kind of get the rough edge down so you don't end up cutting your hand or having nasty looking pieces here. So I'll do that now. The coupling is going to have some rough edges, just as the pipe did from the cutting on the saw. So you'll need to get the emery cloth and just kind of clean it up a little bit, get the rough edges off, because what you end up doing is you'll end up putting the two pieces of pipe in here and gluing it together to have one solid piece. So I'm going to start that now. Now what you'll want to do is take your piece here, make sure this fits correctly. You'll run your cleaner on there and on the end cap here, and you'll just put a little bit of glue on there. Try not to make too much of a mess of it. Slide it into place, and it's up to you if you want to use a clamp or not. There. That should hold that one. Set this out of the way and do the same to this one. Now just wait till it dries. Now you want to take the piece here. You only want to do one half at a time, that way you can put a good clamp on it. Make sure it lines up correctly. And then do the gluing process just like you did the end cap. But you'll end up putting a clamp in the middle and one on each end to make sure it's tight and snug, because normally you would have it around the entire pipe, but since you don't, it's got no back pressure to really hold it together. So make sure you clamp it just to make sure it fits right. If it doesn't line up exactly perfect, it's not that big a deal. You just did a little sandpaper, sand it down to where it is even. I'll just wait till that dries and then we'll do the other side. It's a little trickier on the other side because you'll only get 2 of the clamps. You won't get that middle one on there. Okay, I think that's dry enough. Do the cleaner routine, glue, and get this last piece done. And that should do that for the gluing. And once you got it all put together, if you still feel that this might give on it, you can put a couple of short screws in here to make it where it won't give so easy. And once you're done, you can mount it on the wall. You can mount it up underneath the shelf. Put a little bracket on behind it to hold it, however you want to do it. But then you've got room for, in this case it's a black tape container. This is a applewood rub. This is a regular store-bought tin can with a clear lid. Label them like that, and you can put probably, in this 4-foot section, you probably put 25 or 30 of them in there. Probably about 60 of those. But then you'll be able to use this for a nice little storage area and keep it out of the way. You won't have a bunch of shelf space eat up by these little odd-shaped containers. And thanks for watching.